everybody. This video is going to be about some methods that you can use to study. Now, of course, there's the regular method of study, sitting in a room when you have free time, reading, writing, thinking, reflecting, and doing all the amazing things that you do as a great student. But then there are other ways. These are study hacks, life hacks, ways that you can study that you might not have thought about. And so I'm going to walk through some of these, and I hope that you will implement these. The first thing I want to say is YouTube. If you have a smartphone, YouTube and basically YouTube is a great resource for learning anything. And so it took me a while to realize this, but anything that you're reading, almost anything that you're reading, if you look up, if the author is even somewhat well-known, if you look up the author on YouTube, so for example, I'm a philosopher, so Plato, right? So students are reading Plato and they have to read one of the dialogues. If you just look up the dialogue name and then type in full audio on YouTube, usually there's a full reading of the dialogue. And then that way you can listen to it. Of course, I prefer reading, especially with difficult texts, but if you have access to the audio, then you can listen to it at your own discretion. But, you know, outside of even the realm of the classics, there's tons of stuff out there. So if you're reading a book by somebody on leadership or whatever, they probably have a presentation out there online that they've done at a university or maybe like at Google or a big company that brings in these great thinkers. And so you can basically just like watch those videos and it's a form of learning. Now, it might not be the exact text or it might not be fully in line, but usually people repeat themselves. And so those articles that made these people famous, when they do their presentations, a lot of those elements from the articles will be in the presentations. So remember YouTube. It has an app on your phone and you can basically just search anything. Especially if you're in the realm of the classics, humanities, or anything like English, literature, anything like that, it's all out there and you can listen to it when you're when you don't have access to your computer or when you don't have the book with you or when you have to walk around or whatever. Which brings me to my next item. So that's kind of the fundamental thing. Travel. Anytime you are traveling as a human and you don't need to talk to other people, you should be listening to something. Now, I don't want to just inundate people so that you're just always on your phones watching things like that, right? But this is related to study. This is related to your own development, so it's a little bit different. If you like to take a walk in the morning, I love to do that. I walk my daughter, walk with my daughter, push her. She's tiny. And again, listen to that Platonic dialogue while you're walking. Listen to that person do their presentation on leadership. Listen to somebody doing a lecture on symbolic logic, whatever it is that you're studying, listen to it. And so travel by foot, travel by car, travel by plane, travel by train, travel by horse and buggy. Any type of travel you're doing, be listening to something that is helping you develop. Be listening to something related to the topics of study. And as I said, if you just look up people's names online, you'll find them doing presentations. You'll find them speaking at different engagements and things like that, and it will just help you expand your knowledge. Now, again, I don't want you to be a person that doesn't talk to anybody, that has your headphones in while you're grocery shopping, and the person who's cutting the meat for you you can't hear them, and then you just look like a jerk, right? You don't want to be that guy or woman. But you know, like, you know, if you're not talking to anybody, there's nobody around, and you have some opportunity on your drive to work. So this is a big one for people who work. You got to give up the sports radio. You got to give up the funny guys in the morning or whatever. Listen to those things on your way to work, on your way home from work, and then, well, working at work is one of these other things here, so we'll get to that. Okay, next item, wake up, good night. So Justin, I don't have any time in my day to study, like, because during these days I have to take care of my kids or whatever else. So that might mean that you might need to wake up earlier uh, or stay up later at night. Now, I would always tell people to wake up earlier if possible. Um, I think people tend to do their best work before the kids are up. Justin, my kids wake up at 5. Yeah, well, you might have to wake up at 4. Again, it's just one of those things where, like, if you're not succeeding, if you're not getting to the level of development intellectually that you want to, or you're not getting the grades you need that you want to, you have to do drastic things. Well, but what I do, Justin, is I stay up at night, I watch my shows, I unwind, and then I wake up with my kids. Well, you might have to maybe go to sleep with your kids, maybe not. You know what I mean? Go to bed at the same time that your kids go to bed, and then they'll probably sleep longer than you, and maybe you have to wake up at 4 in the morning. Maybe you have to wake up 5. Maybe something like that. Now, some people are night owls, uh, and depending on your life and things like that, you might have to work maybe a little bit later. You might have to push your bedtime back a little bit. And so there's another area where you can carve out some time for yourself. Next item, working at work. If you have a job that allows you to do this, then you should use the travel method while you're working at work. I used to paint houses, and beautiful northern Michigan in the summertime. Oh, amazing. And a lot of times I was alone, which was great, or just with a couple guys, but really I was just on one side of the house. They were working on the other side of the house. Headphones in, do it. Listen to the things that I just talked about from YouTube. Listen to the presentations, listen to the dialogues, listen to whatever you can. That is a perfect opportunity. Now, some of you might work in a place where you're not allowed to listen to things because it's too dangerous, or because you're working all day, or because you have to engage with other people. That's a little bit more difficult, but there's always some downtime at different points. There are little breaks. And those 15-minute breaks, I know, maybe I used to play cards. I worked at a countertop making factory too, and we had like 2 15-minute breaks. Maybe they were 10 minutes. And we would just play cards, just play cards and then go back out, keep working. But you might have to like sit in the corner and read, or you might have to just do something to try to get something done during those short breaks. Other people might make fun of you a little bit. And of course, again, don't ruin friendships or relationships that you've developed over studying. Maybe one of the 15-minute breaks, you play cards with your friends, and the other 15-minute break, you're like, hey, y'all, like, I just have to do my work. And at some point they'll shift and they'll become interested in what you're doing, and maybe they'll ask questions, and then you can talk about things, which is another way to work at work without working, is just bring people into the conversations that are going on in your head. Even if you work in a job where you have to be on or whatever, nobody controls your mind, right? And so you can be reflecting on, like, what was I going to write about? What is my thesis that I really want to think about? Or think about like the article that you just read, and like, kind of parallel process, while like the woman is yelling at you that the French fries were undercooked or whatever, or the man, sorry. You can just be like thinking in your head, like, yeah, what is the concept of justice that emerges out of this Platonic dialogue, and then that's a good way too, not to get mad and just to let them kind of vent, and to not be moved by their passions. So working at work is key. Now, again, don't get fired. Don't do anything that is going to jeopardize your employment or your safety. But if you can get away with it, working at work is great. Okay, next item, weekends. Weekends. College football is back. NFL is back. And I know that doesn't appeal to everybody, but everybody has their thing on the weekends, And again, the wake up early, maintain it on the weekends. The stay up late studying, maintain it on the weekends. Try to, create those behaviors. But I see so many people spending like an entire day watching college football or watching NFL. Now, again, everybody has their thing. Not everybody likes football, but everybody has their thing. Well, they will just sit there and watch like the movies we love on E. That's my wife. Sometimes, and it's like, do we really need to see Miss Congeniality 2 for like the 47th time? And And so weekends, like if you find yourself getting into those ruts, uh, you know, you have to break out of that. Like maybe you wake up early and you dedicate the time from 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. for study, and then you're done, you know? And, but then you're like thinking, if you're sitting there watching a 3-hour football game, it's like, well, I still could be working, you know, I still could be like, I could finish that paper right now, finish it early and be done with it. And then the stress of that would be off me. Maybe I should just do that. Cause like, who really cares about, um, no offense, the IU football game, right? I'm from Indiana, and Indiana is not great at football, although they're getting better. Okay, so weekends, very important. And then a couple more things, turn off the TV, just turn it off. Just turn it off. It's wasting your time. It's not doing anything. Now, YouTube is different. TV, educational TV is different. If you're using your viewing to learn, that's different. What I mean is turn off the stuff that you just know is just a waste of time. I saw a meme and it was like me watching Bloodsport with commercials, even though it's on Netflix without commercials, you know, like eating spaghetti. Like, you know, if you've seen Bloodsport 12 times, like you don't need to watch it for a 13th time, especially if you're in college and you're trying to succeed and to learn and to grow. I know easier said than done, but again, once you do it, once you get used to it, you might end up actually thinking, man, I've spent so much of my life wasting my time with the TV. And the final thing is the perspective on all of this. So life is learning. So Dewey, who was an educational philosopher, just said life is learning. And it's true. Everything, every single thing we do in life is learning. Even me right now doing this, I'm learning about how to do this better. And I'm in my own head saying like, shut up, Justin, you've gone on too long. Nobody's watching at this point. So I'm learning things. But there's this disconnect in our society, and I think in most societies when it comes to education, where it's like, okay, I have to put in my study time and then I can do what I want to do. No. Let's like try to get to the realm where it's like, study time is what I do always. Does that make sense? So instead of thinking like, I have to put in the pain of study in order to reap the benefits of enjoyment in life, it's enjoy studying. Develop a behavioral complex inside of you where it's like, yeah, when I wake up, I don't immediately go to my Instagram and start, or Facebook and start scrolling through. What I do is I put on this meditative activity, or I put on this, this, what I tend to listen to Stoic philosophy, and I make my coffee and I start thinking like, yeah, the wealthy human is the one who not the human who acquires all of these things. The wealthy human is the one who has no desire, who's satisfied with simplicity. You know, what a great way to start my day. And you can do it too. And then on the walk, I'm interacting with my daughter, but then like she zones out or falls asleep, and then I'm back in it, right? And I'm learning more. And then I have a little bit of free time here, so I read a little bit of a book. And I'm not saying that I'm like the ultimate example, but I have had this experience where I've gone from like thinking it, like I don't think of this stuff anymore as like, oh, I have to do it. It's like an extremely pleasurable and enjoyable activity that I get to engage in because I'm a very lucky human. And I would just recommend that to think of that like life as learning. Like what you are doing right now, what you are committing to is thinking of life as learning. And so every moment of your day can be this amazing opportunity to be curious and to like wonder. And, if you see a bird and you don't know what kind it is, try to take a picture of it and like look it up, like just think of everything. Like, what is this tree behind me? I don't know. I think it's an ash tree, but I'm not sure. And that's actually true. I'm trying to figure it out. And it's just an opportunity to learn, and if we can break out of that, like studying is painful and horrible, and then I get to go have fun. And if you can get into the realm where it's like, no, studying is the fun thing, studying is the best thing, studying is the thing that I love, then everything shifts radically. Uh, so try to think of life as learning and all of this as just who you are, that you will never stop learning every single day. You'll never stop developing yourself. You'll never stop becoming everything that you know that you are in your head.